Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Learning with Pros. Today I'm joined with Kate Fahey. Kate, welcome.
Thanks, Braydon. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. You've been one of the rising stars this year. So fun to watch. I've seen you play live a few times, and it's a lot of fun. You've had a lot of success in singles. Your doubles game is growing, and you're getting a lot of wins there. But singles has kind of stood out. Like you jumped on the scene quick. You're doing really well there. So today we're gonna do a little singles strategy session with you, and to give everyone like a little background, if you haven't been following Kate's journey, like you went pro this year, right? Like you went full time a few months ago.
Yeah, went full time in May. I quit my full time job and decided to go full time. I believe it was May. It was after the draft. So I was drafted by Anna Bright, the St. Louis Shock. So after that, I kind of took the risk to go full time and haven't looked back.
Yeah, and since then, obviously the game has been growing steadily. But you've been in so many championship Sundays for singles. You're obviously have a knack for that. You have a strong tennis background, right? Like you played in college. I don't know the full story though. Give us a little info, like where you played college. Like you were really good, right?
Yeah, I was pretty good. I know I hate saying that, but I started playing tennis when I was like 4 years old. My parents got me into it super early. Played like junior tennis, traveled around, and then played at University of Michigan in college, which I had the best experience. I loved. That's where fellow pro Brooke Buckner played as well. So the head coach of Michigan now says she tells recruits that you can be a good tennis player and pickleball player if you go to Michigan. But after I graduated in 2019, I went pro for a little bit, but 4 wrist surgeries later, I was just like, about 2 years into being on tour, I was like, this, my body isn't cut out for it anymore. So I started working in corporate America for about 3 years. And then one of my coworkers asked me if I wanted to play a pickleball tournament, like a local 3-5 pickleball tournament. I'm like, yeah, I've played before. Like, let's see how it is. And ever since I lost in the finals, I was like, I have to get better at this sport. It was just addicting. And so I was living in New York City, and it was really hard to find court time. So I just, tried. I was playing at like 11 p.m., getting home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, but I was just hooked. So now it's a little bit easier to train now that it's my full-time job. But yeah, that's kind of my background.
What a cool story. I'm really happy that you're doing this, doing you love. When I went full-time pickleball a few months ago, like my quality of life has been so much better than when I was doing before, when I was doing the corporate America thing, and it's been good. But we're gonna dive into some points. So I have a singles game. I got some points cut up that we're gonna review. I'm like very self-conscious about this because I'm much more confident in my doubles game than my singles, but don't be afraid to pick me apart, whether it's technique, shot selection. When it comes to singles, there's not a lot of content out there. There's a lot more like tennis single stuff than like pickleball singles. And so I've consumed some tennis things, but this will be interesting to kind of pick your brand as someone who's very good at both, and we can kind of find some of the nuances there. So before I show you my points, I just want to get when you go into a singles match, what is your like general like thought process, like your kind of go-to? Like I feel like everyone says, oh, serve big, return big, attack backhand. Like, is that what you're thinking? Like, what are your general thoughts going into like a match for singles?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started playing, I didn't have a ton of strategy going into singles matches. I was just kind of like, try to figure out as I go. But now I feel like I've played a good amount of people, and so it depends on the person I'm playing for sure. Like, if I play someone, I played a few times, I'll go back and watch film. I'll go back and watch the matches that I've played that person before, and try to come up with a strategy there. There's nothing like too crazy. Like no one's, back. Sometimes their backhand's a lot worse than their forehand. Sometimes it switches. But I would say for the most part, my strategy remains like I don't come in every single shot. I don't come in every single point. That's not really my strategy. It's more like when I get the opportunity to come in, try to approach when I can and try to make it to the net. It's not like just return the ball and come in, which, a lot of the men do. Caitlin Christian does it really well. And it works for some people, but it's just for me, I think I like to hit like the heavy, deep ground strokes, set up the point, and then once I get the opportunity to come in on a short ball, that's when I try. And I've tried to develop my short game a little bit more because I feel like my volleys up to this point have been like kind of through the court, but I'm trying to develop drop volleys, like short volleys, because a lot of women don't like moving forward as much. So it's cool that the strategy develops and also changes as the game develops, which is an exciting part of pickleball. So it depends on the person and the day.
Yeah. So if you were to name maybe like one or two things, you're like, okay, I play this person this way and another person this way? Like when you do make a strategy shift, like what is it? Like are you targeting different area of the courts? Are you hitting harder, hitting softer? Like what are those one or two things that maybe you switch around?
Yeah, like if someone has a clear weak side, like I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna try to set up the point by going to their, like serving to their forehand to open up their backhand. Or I'll try to, return to their forehand to then maybe get a short return and then try to approach to their backhand. I think it's all about, trying to set yourself up for approaching to a side or trying to end the point on that side. So if you think they're going to miss the pass, then I would try to hit the approach to that weaker side. If you think they're going to, make the first pass and then miss when you hit that first volley, then I would try to end the point on their weaker side.
Okay. Everything you just said right now is like 5 levels above of the way I'm thinking. Like when I'm serving, I'm just trying to like serve it hard. So you're picking locations when you serve, using that to set up, like you said, maybe pull them out wide so that you can set it up on the opposite and things like that. Like those are things you're considering. It's like 1, 2, like almost like 3-shot combinations that you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. 3-shot combinations. Also like, I think the strategy like develops as you're playing them. Like sometimes you'll go into a match and you're like, okay, their backhand's weaker, but for some reason that day they're ripping their backhand. And so it's also about like being flexible, being adaptable. I think that's what makes the best players, is like having that plan B to say like, okay, this isn't working. I'll drop the first set. I'm down 0-5 in their first game. Like what can I do differently? Mm-hmm. Maybe a body serve is working really well against them. Maybe, you're lobbing when they're going to when they're at the net and their, overhead doesn't feel good that day. It's all about like being adaptable and noticing what's working and what's not during the match.
Okay, that's good. So follow-up question is, with tennis being like so ingrained in you, like what translated really well coming from, your strong tennis background, and what did you have to kind of ditch or get rid of and like develop? Like what did you have to develop new, I guess, those 3 things?
Yeah. That's a good question. I feel like competitive edge, just like actually like, staying calm under those high pressure moments. Like if it's 10-10 in the first game, if you're down 10-11 and just kind of like grinding those high pressure situations out. I think college tennis and pro tennis really allowed me to feel a lot of those, when you're like, or when you're down, and the ability to come back. Like I've just been in a lot of those situations where when I came to pickleball, I almost felt comfortable in those situations. Another one I think is lateral movement. I think helped me a lot. Like pickleball is a little bit more like short lateral movement, so I've had to develop that a little bit more. But just like being able to kind of like move, and take that short hop or stop quickly on the court and then change direction, I think helped me a lot from tennis. Some of the things I had to get rid of, that like the forehand, the tennis volleys, like I started doing that at the net. Whereas like now I try to kind of have the bigger stroke and really take a full swing on the volley. Some big strokes, like I feel like when I first started playing pickleball singles, people would approach and I would take this like big swing when I tried to pass. Whereas like you really just want to try to keep the ball out in front of you and catch it out in front and take maybe a shorter swing. Try to use their pace a little bit more, because I was taking these big swings and then I was catching the ball really late, either missing in the net or wide. And so that was something that I had to work on.
That's a good one. Cool. I had another question pop up from some of your comments earlier. So you mentioned coming up to the net is not as prevalent in women's. I do feel like in the women's game, you come up to the net more than most.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But when you like watch amateurs, I don't know if you watch amateurs play singles, but do you feel like, I just run up to the net every time? That's just what I do. I see the guys do that. I'm like, okay, I should just run up to the net. Do you think amateurs should be a little more intentional with the shots they follow up? Or do you think, like, I'm 6'2", I'm longer, like, should I just rush the net every time? I don't know. What do you think for amateurs and coming up to the net?
Yeah, I think it depends on like what you feel comfortable with. Like some people like really like their ground strokes and really feel comfortable from the baseline. Maybe some like people that have played tennis in the past and they feel like they could out hit people, or they just are stronger from the baseline. And so I would say try to play to your strengths. If you're 6'2" like yourself, like that's really good for reach at the net. If you feel comfortable at the kitchen.
Although I still feel like I get passed easy. We're going to talk about this in a minute while I show you some clips.
It's hard. Some people disguise their passes really well. And it also depends, like some people, I've heard the strategy, like come to net in the beginning of matches and, kind of dare them to pass you. If they're passing you, then you kind of adapt and you're like, okay, actually their passing shots are working really well right now. Maybe I stay back. But like from the get-go, like having your passes work really well is kind of difficult. And so I would almost like maybe start the match coming up to the net. And then if they feel comfortable, then you start backing up. I feel like I've seen a good amount of people in playing amateur singles, they hesitate when they come to the net. Like I feel like it's almost like they hit a shot and they're like creeping up to the net. And that's where people can catch them, like sort of like in the transition zone, where they're not fully up to net. If you are coming up to net, I would say just fully commit. I myself, I'm like, oh, should I come to net? And then I kind of hesitate. And that's when, you know, the whole court opens up for them. They can drop it at their feet. You can drop it at your feet. They can pass you. And they have a lot more options rather than just like, even if you don't hit a good approach shot, just rush the net and kind of close that space for them.
Okay, that's good. So I think, I don't know, you tell me, like, it sounds like people shouldn't just automatically run to the net, be more intentional, be a little smarter, play to your strengths a little bit. Because like whenever I play, when I play in tournaments, I'll usually sign up for like 4-5 or 5-0. I'm not that good, but I sign up for that. And everyone just runs the net. Like it's just automatic. And maybe people shouldn't be like that automatic with it.
That's what I think. I think like it's kind of situational. I like, you know, obviously I'd say men singles, like they all kind of hit the return and come to the net. I would say Hunter Johnson is kind of changing the game a little bit. Like he'll hit a shot, he'll hit a return and not necessarily come in. I think because he does like his ground strokes and he can pass really well. I think that's his best shot. So
maybe watch some of his, see how he does it a little different. Okay.
He's so good from the baseline. He can pass anywhere from either side. And I think it just depends. Like if Fed, you know, hits a laser serve and it's like deep in the corner and you're barely getting that back, like why would you come in on that? Like it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It's almost like making that split second decision of like, this is a good serve. I'm going to struggle to return this. I'm going to try to get it back as deep as I can and maybe stay back. Or you're like, okay, this serve maybe landed a little bit shorter. Like I'm going to take a more full swing, try to put it in a corner or put it deep somewhere and then follow it in. But that's like a split second decision. You know, you've got to make it right away. Sometimes it'll be the wrong decision, but I would say it's more situational.
That's cool. That's funny you say that. I would never have picked up that, oh, Hunter Johnson's doing this differently. He's maybe changing some of the patterns, some of the way people move and think about singles. So do you think it's going to change more? Like we'll see less people just sprinting at the net on the men's side. Maybe we'll see more of a mix of styles as like, maybe I guess Tyler's kind of leading the way here a little bit. Like
these guys have like huge serves. Like they're literally like landing on the baseline and it's like, how are you supposed to just like short hop that and then make your way to the kitchen and, you know, try to hit an effective volley?
Yeah, because if you don't short hop it, you're 3 feet off the kitchen and then it's a long run.
Takes so long to come to the kitchen. And they have, especially guys that like to take it kind of early, they're taking that third and just like dipping it somewhere where when you're trying to still get into the kitchen. So maybe it will change. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that was awesome. I think I learned a ton there without even showing you some video. So I'm going to share my screen here. I got some clips and we'll just kind of see what you find in it. So
cool.
Is that showing up well enough for you? Okay. So, oh, I lost it on my side. Let me pull it back up. There we go. These first two clips are just me getting past easy at the net. I feel like I should be able to cover the net better than I do. I don't know if, I'm sure there's something I'm doing where I can cover the net better, and that's what I want you to pay attention on. Okay. So we'll just watch these first two clips and then just watch me get past real easy. Like I'm frozen and just tell me what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, that's the first one. We can rewind these if you want.
Yeah, we rewind.
Would it be better if it's slower?
No, I think it's fine. Yeah, you can play at normal speed.
Like, am I just committing too early to one side?
Yeah, I'd say that first one, it looks like you were just leaning cross, like you were kind of like getting ready for him to go cross. Let me see it one more time, yeah.
Yeah, both of them I can't take a little stutter step the other direction.
Yeah. It's a good return. Also, I feel like your paddle is really low.
Okay.
Like your ready position, like you're almost like split stepping right before he hits the pass and your paddle is kind of low. Like I almost like to have it kind of like at my chest.
Okay.
So then like you can just react like either way rather than like picking your paddle up and then reacting.
And then like, am I split stepping too early, late? Like, is that causing any issues?
Let me watch it one more time. I don't even think there was a full split step. Let me see. Yeah, I just think you were committing cross. Like I think it was more like my rule of thumb is if you hit a good shot down the line, you shouldn't like guess they're going down the line, but for him to roll that ball cross court across the other side of the net would have been a really hard shot. So it's almost like you're kind of like you're split stepping, but you're leaning your body and you're also following the ball. So you hit it down the line and you want to follow that ball to where like the pass is going down the line. And then I think it's just like easier to kind of react last minute. If it goes cross court, it's going to be like a little bit of a slower ball. And so it's almost like you should guard the line a little bit more and then guess. And then if they go cross court, you just hope it's a little bit of a slower ball so you can almost like guess.
Okay. I guess one other question I have here is like, okay, so this one I return middle and he finds the line on that one. But
yeah, that's a good ball. He held it pretty well.
When you're thinking returns, do you have a preference on like wing, middle, or like, I guess like what are the pros and cons to like each location? And if there are tendencies or like if there's easier shots off those locations, like what are they? Because I don't know what they are. Like if I hit one to the backhand corner, I don't know like what the percentages are. Like it's easier to go, hit this shot. So I should, favor that or something like that. Like, is that a thing?
I think I don't usually hit my returns cross court just because like that's kind of my personal favorite pattern. So if I serve and someone goes cross court, I like to take that next ball early and then redirect it down the line so that they're running in the opposite direction and then they have to then lift the ball. So I actually like to return down the line a little bit more. So then they have to either create the angle, go cross court, or follow it back down the line, which I'm already there.
Okay. And then when you're approaching the net, you follow the ball a little bit, but like, are you just going to the middle of the court or like, where do you run to?
When I return it?
Yeah. Like when you're following it.
Yeah. So I can return the ball down the middle. It kind of depends on like also how they're serving. Like if someone has like a really, really good serve, Lacey Sheeman I play against, and she has a really good, heavy, deep serve. I'm honestly just trying to get it as deep as I can. I'm not really worried so much about the location.
Okay.
I might like try and pick a side where I'm like, okay, maybe I should target her forehand or backhand. But if it's a really good serve, I'm literally just trying to get it as deep as I possibly can to prevent them from coming in on the next one. If I have a little bit more time, I'll try to go to their weaker side and just approach it coming forward. So like if they're struggling with their backhand, I'll take my forehand, take it a little bit earlier if I have time, and then try to hit as deep as I can to the backhand.
Okay, that's good. So if you have time, then you can set it up, pick a location, hit it hard there. If not, just get it deep and manage it from there.
Because if you're trying to do too much with the deep, heavy serve, the last thing you want to do is miss the ball and just kind of, not make them play. And so I think for the most part, it's like, okay, they're hitting really good deep serves. I'm just going to try my absolute best to try and keep the ball as deep as I possibly can. Maybe as to my point before, I'm not going to take that shot and come in on it, especially if they're serving really big. So maybe I'll take one ball, but if it takes more than one, then that's, I think, a little bit smarter than just rushing to the net off of a deep serve.
Gotcha. All right, let's watch these next ones. Like I have some winners or some points I win. Even when I win a point, I don't even know why. I just happen to win it,
That's a really good setup, yeah.
So when you say setup, what do you mean?
Like, so you try to pass him cross court here. He gets the volley back, but then you take the next one pretty early. Like you're taking this ball that you take down the line early so that you see how he's still in that position. Like he's still all the way on the other side of the court. And so you get him out of position, you stretch him, and then you take the next ball early. And so you take away his time to recover back.
Okay. And that makes sense. So if you hit a good passing shot or something that makes them stretch, you do want to follow in a couple steps?
Yeah, I think so. That's something that I've been working on. I think it's something that Anna Lee does really well. If you see them hitting a volley like below the net, I would say like start inching forward. Sometimes you got to pop up, and that like sometimes I just let it bounce and then it might be deep instead of like taking a few steps forward. It's either going to be probably like a weaker, shorter volley like he did there, or maybe a pop-up to where you can even take it out of the air and take more time away from them.
Just step into it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I can't remember what this one is.
Oh, you hit a good volley.
So just give that one to him.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind this because you were way out of position with this first volley, and then you kind of dipped the backhand cross court, which I think was smart. You just didn't go for like a all-out winner. Like, you dipped this cross court. I think he just hit a good shot. Like, that's such an effective shot, that drop volley there, which is something that I've been working on, because you're still at the baseline. Even if, say, you would have gotten to that drop shot, like, you still have to pop the ball up. Probably a little bit of cat and mouse, but he's already there. You know what I mean? Instead of like hitting a deep volley back to you and giving you another opportunity to pass him.
So is this shot here, like, was this a good option, or is this bad because it gives him, he could do the drop volley, he can roll it down the line?
Yeah, I mean, maybe like you hit it a little bit slow, but if he's all the way, like, did he hit multiple drop volleys in this match?
He did hit a couple.
Yeah. So I would say, like, if you see someone like below the net like that, again, like, I would take a few steps forward, because for him to like flick that down the line would have been a really hard shot. He had to drop his wrist below the net and then flick that down the line. So I almost think like you should, assume that it might probably be a short drop volley.
So instead of like recovering laterally to the middle, recover in,
take a few steps in,
a couple steps in towards the net.
Yep.
Middle and toward. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. We'll see what this next one is. Oh, come on, Chris.
Nice.
That's all he's got. I think I just got lucky. I just guessed the right way.
That was a great point.
To be like this one, sometimes I cover the net. Like this one, I just covered well. I don't know why. And other times I just am frozen. Yeah. Was it just because I'm guessing?
I think sometimes I get jumbled too. Like, I'm like, I think it's going one way, and then it's like a slow passing shot to the other court. I'm like, how did I not get to that? Sometimes I just guess a little bit too much. And sometimes you do have to guess. Like, if someone's passing really well, like, you got to be like, and they've passed like 3 times down the line, make them hit cross court. If they hit cross court, then sometimes you have to say too good. Like, you can't cover every single passing shot. So sometimes it does have to be a little bit of a guess.
Okay. So it's okay to be frozen every once in a while.
Yep. Nice. So that was good, because that first volley you hit stayed low. And so his only option was to, like, he had to go up with it if he wanted to hit it above the net. And that was just a really good guess for you to cover that. Nice. Oh, that's a good point.
We're okay with that one?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the last backhand you hit was just a little bit too high, because you're all the way out of position. And so maybe you want to like make that bounce in the kitchen just to give yourself a little bit more time to get back into the court. Like
this one here?
Yeah. Like, you're all the way out there. Like, maybe just make it bounce. You know what I mean? So he has to make it bounce. He has to let it bounce and then hit another shot. It just gives you a little, not necessarily that you would have won the point, because he hit some good volleys here, but just gives you a little bit more time to get back in.
Gives me a chance.
Yep.
Okay, I also have a question on, let's see if did I hit a forehand here? Sometimes I do it a little bit here. I kind of lift up a little bit. You don't want to do that, right? Like, you kind of want to keep your head level.
Yeah, you want to, for the most part, like, keep that like wide, low base. Yeah.
And you, like, this compact stroke is fine. Like, we're okay with that.
I like that. Yeah, this passing shot here was he just hit a good volley cross court, and you almost have to assume he's going cross court with that volley, because it's, again, below the net. The face of his paddle is almost like here, and so for him then to like switch his face and go down the line would have been a really hard shot. So you kind of have to assume he's going to go sharp cross with that.
Yeah, now you say that, like, his last couple backhand volleys that were below the net both went cross court.
Yeah.
Like, those are things I just don't pick up on. You probably your body just moves more naturally than mine does. Like, okay, you hit here, you step there unconsciously.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't built into my system yet.
It also comes like as you play more points. I would say my first few singles tournaments, I kind of look like, I don't even know what you call it, like a giraffe on skates. Like I was a little bit like, where's the ball going to go? But now I feel more comfortable with patterns. Like, and I've played people a good amount of time. So I'm like, okay, she has a flick. She doesn't have a flick. If the ball goes below the net on the backhand, she can't go down the line with this. If she does, too good. But I'm gonna cover the cross court here. So it's just about picking up on patterns, knowing what shots people like. I would say for the most part, people go open court. So
when I'm on the right, most likely next ball is just going to go wherever the next open court is. That's good. That's a good way to think about it. If I didn't know the tendencies of them.
Yeah. If the ball's below the net, if you want to go down the line, that's the highest part of the net. If you want to go cross court, then you're going over the lowest part of the net. You're giving yourself the best opportunity to hit it over the net.
That's good. So when I'm like just playing for fun, practicing, trying to get a better feel for patterns, just pay attention to where the balls go. Like if I go cross court, where does it go? And just kind of keep a tally in my head of like, start to build those patterns up.
Yeah. Yeah. And like so watching stuff like this really helps too. Cause it's like, okay, no matter how many people I play, the last, 3 guys have basically not had that backhand flick down the line. And so most of their balls will go cross court. And so next time I'm playing them, and they have a volley, I'm going to run to the open court, force them to go the opposite direction with the volley.
Awesome. Okay. We'll do one more, one more clip and then we'll call it good. Oh.
Ooh. I saw the vision. This is actually, I think the hardest shot is like the off-pace forehand roll cross court. It was a right shot. Like he was kind of expecting you to, I think, go down the line. You just had to add a little more to it.
Like, is it maybe a little footwork? Like I cut the ball behind me a little bit.
Maybe, yeah. You want to definitely keep the ball out in front of you, but you want to have that like wrist flick to where you're like adding a ton of top spin to that ball because you want the ball to bounce. You're trying to make it kind of bounce in the kitchen, maybe deep kitchen, but then have some top spin to where like he's got to short hop it or barely catch it out of the air.
Yeah. Yeah, this seems like a high difficulty shot that I just don't have in my bag.
Something to drill. I've been drilling that shot a lot too. It's harder than it looks. Like, because I think the backhand's a little bit easier because you're already closed off with the 2 hands. Forehand, you're open stance. And so you're already kind of like isolating the paddle a little bit. Yeah. So that's why you have to add even more topspin than you think.
Well, cool. I guess last thing here, just because I really want to know, sorry if I'm keeping you a few minutes extra, but your top 1-2 drills for singles. I just don't know singles drills. Like what would you recommend?
I would say I really like, it's a really simple drill, just going cross court. Like you have that person at the kitchen and then you're at the baseline and you're literally just working on dipping that ball cross court. You're not trying to rip it. You're just trying to work on that roll cross court. Cause I think a lot of times that's such an effective shot kind of when you're out of position and you don't want them to hit a clear winner. You want to make that ball bounce. And so just getting a feel for that, it's literally just kind of hitting like top spin drops cross court. I think that's such
just like a more aggressive like drop, almost like what do people call like a drip kind of thing?
Yeah. I think so.
Do you do it both open and closed stance, get a feel for both scenarios?
Yeah, I think it's hard to hit that. Forehand, I do open stance mostly when I hit cross court roll. Backhand, I'll do more closed stance. I'm not sure why, but a little more comfortable.
Does anyone really hit a backhand that's not a closed stance? Like that sounds really hard.
I think I've seen it. Like I feel like I've seen Anna Lee like open stance down the line. I think it's smart just because it like disguises it a little bit more. You don't know whether you're going cross court or down the line, but it's something I have to work on too. But
awesome. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I need to go rewatch this a few times. There's a lot of stuff I need to pull out of there. For those listening, they want to follow you. You're on Instagram. Where do you live?
Instagram, Twitter. I live in New Jersey.
Oh, sorry. I meant like what platform. It was a bad way to phrase it. So Instagram's a good place to follow you.
It's New Jersey. Mostly Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll put a link to that in the description. Go follow Kate. She's fantastic. Next year is just going to be the next level for you. You'll be number 1 in no time.
Hopefully. Thank you, Braydon. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Kate.